Spoiler warning! If you haven't finished Infinity Train books 1 through 3, go no further. This video will have major spoilers, plus predictions for next season, so hit pause and come back when you've finished Cult of the Conductor on HBO Max. Once again, if you haven't heard, please watch Infinity Train on HBO Max. Right now, the future of the series is up in the air, and supporting it by watching and rewatching it on HBO Max is the only way HBO will consider making more. Seriously, there are so many unanswered questions that we'll be exploring in this video, but we'll only get official answers if the show gets greenlit for more seasons. If Season 4 is a thing, I have so many ideas about what might happen, and today we're going to cover all of them. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and these are my theories for the potential Infinity Train Book 4. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our Super Nerd sponsor of the day, Nathaniel Williams, for supporting us on Patreon. Now all aboard the growth train, toot toot wee! Although books 1 and 2 were amazing and I wouldn't change a single thing about them, they could have both existed as standalone seasons. True, they were tied together by the unfinished Mirror Car storyline, and our favorite characters from book 1 did pop up in book 2. But Tulip, Jessie, and Lake's stories wrapped up pretty perfectly. And although it would be awesome to eventually see those characters again, I really enjoy that all 3 seasons so far focus on completely different protagonists each time. Book 4 is the very first time we can expect to definitely see characters from book 3 again. I mean, not Simon. That dude is dead. This time, Hazel's storyline ended with a total cliffhanger, and if I don't find out what happens to her and Amelia, I'm gonna lose it. Chapter 9 only showed like 2 minutes of her leaving with Amelia, but we have no idea what happened to them after they walked away from Grace and Simon. Historically, the character for the upcoming season of Infinity Train has been introduced in Chapter 7 of each book. Lake and the Apex were both introduced in Episode 7 of Seasons 1 and 2, and this season's 7th episode reintroduced Amelia, who is now the caretaker of Hazel. Based on that formula, plus the hardcore cliffhanger they left us with, I think we can expect to see Hazel and Amelia featured heavily next season. Hazel and Amelia have a lot of unanswered questions to solve, and business to take care of. First of all, Amelia needs to figure out how to stop the train cars from shifting. We know that every car that Hazel passes through gets messed up, but we don't know exactly what'll happen when they get quarantined to the back of the train. We've seen the front of the train already, but there's a good chance we could see the back of the train once Amelia and Hazel arrive at their new destination. I know that sounds antithetical to the concept of an infinity train, but as we've seen with the front of the train, the writers are playing fast and loose with the definition of infinity. My guess is that Amelia will have to eventually get Hazel back to the control room and our favorite little robot. I'm curious to see how 1-1 will react to Hazel, besides being delighted to make a new friend. Will they be able to activate her number and turn her into a real passenger? Or will they be able to stabilize her code to live problem-free among the rest of the denizens? Will Hazel be given the opportunity to get off the train? And if so, where would she go in the real world? This season will hopefully give us a reason to dive deeper into Amelia'S storyline. Although we now know what she's been doing since Tulip left the train, a lot of her scenes in Book 3 revolved around recapping her backstory for Grace and Simon's benefit. I was hoping to learn more about her as a person, but luckily I think we'll see a lot more of who she is in Book 4. So far, Amelia has been making amends in a broad sense to lower her number. Her fixing messed up train cars is a way to say sorry and build character, but in order to get off the train, I predict that Amelia will have to work more on her interpersonal skills. Amelia says it herself. She's not really a great caretaker. She's been on her own for so long, and she never had kids with Ulrich, so her nurturing skills are just a tad rusty. Besides making kinda crappy eggs, Amelia really doesn't know how to interact with Hazel. But Hazel is only 6.5 years old. She needs a mentor, a parent figure, or at the very least a guardian to keep her safe from the Dome. The sad thing is, Grace really did have a way with kids, but unfortunately her methods at the time were so tainted with manipulation that it's easy to see why Hazel couldn't trust her anymore. With Tuba gone, Hazel needs someone who can guide her and give her answers about who she is and where she fits in the world. And on the flip side, Amelia needs to start caring more for other humans, not just denizens and robots, if she wants to further lower her number. Racing Hazel might just be what it takes to gain those extra metaphorical merit badges, and perhaps the two will be able to leave the train together. All that being said, I really don't think we'll see much of the Apex next season. Don't get me wrong, it would be criminal if they didn't at least catch us up on the new version of the Apex, whatever it may be. I'm dying to see how Grace reshapes the group into something positive and healthy for the kids on the train. With Grace's number gradually lowering, it's possible that she'll need a second in command, like Lucy, to help ready the rest of the gang for her departure. I'm guessing that anything we see on this will be very brief, because we already had an Apex-centric season and there's so much more of the train to explore. That being said, I really do want a reunion between Grace and Hazel. Grace truly grew so much in her short time with her, and I'm sure she's going to want to prove to Hazel that she is trustworthy and safe. Grace has a lot of amends to make to Hazel, but Hazel is such a sweetie pie, I can't imagine her not accepting Grace's apology. Then again, Simon, and Grace by proxy, literally murdered Tuba. I personally wouldn't have gone with either of them after that, and I don't think I could ever forgive them. But Hazel has such a huge capacity for love and empathy, I can see her and Grace reconciling next season if they do run into each other. And if Grace is ever going to get off the train, I think it's safe to assume that she'll want to apologize to Hazel before taking her exit. Also, although I don't really think we need to hear any more about that jagoff Simon, it would be interesting to see Grace process Simon's death in future episodes. Even though he's gone, his presence still lingers among the former Apex. No one is ever really gone when they die. Grace and Simon were best friends for such a long time. No way is she getting over him this quickly. And after what happened with Hazel, I'm sure she's feeling incredibly lost right now. Also, Hazel is wearing the same clothes as young Simon, which makes you wonder if there's more than just coincidence there. Simon might be dead, but his past self might hold a key to the mystery that is Hazel. I do wonder how Samantha is going to find out about Simon's death. I know in a way she already blames herself so much for the way he turned out, but his death was particularly tragic and gruesome, and I can see that strongly affecting her. Remember how episode 7 usually is the window into the next season? Well, when Amelia was reintroduced in book 3, episode 7, the cat also played a heavy role in that episode. Perhaps Samantha will also be central to book 4. I could see this going one of two ways. The first would be potentially to give her a new passenger to care for. We saw her turn a new leaf with Tulip, but perhaps it's time to give her a full partner. Like Amelia, this could be her second chance to make things right, and her storyline would grapple with learning from the mistakes she had made when caring for Simon. The other option is a little darker. We're due for another Denizen antagonist, so maybe the cat will seek vengeance when she learns about Simon's demise. We know she has a bone to pick with Amelia, and hearing that he was Raiders of the Lost Ark after a run-in with the false conductor, she might think Amelia is to blame. Speaking of which, oh my god, we have to talk about that dual death Gome attack! What? That was like if the Dementors from Harry Potter sucked your soul, then just evaporated. How? Why? I need to know why the Gome explode after they feast on your soul. Is eating a soul their destiny, so once they get one, they just explode like a Meeseeks? Also, how are they made? Were the Gome always a part of the wasteland, or are they a byproduct of the train? In Season 1, Amelia zaps Atticus into one with some sort of technology. Did the ray guns specifically create the Gome? Or are Gomes the reincarnations of denizens who die on the train? Amelia could have just straight up killed Atticus, and the train's magic is what transformed him. If this is true, I wonder if it's possible that Tuba was the Gome that killed Simon. It makes sense. If I were Tuba and I got a second chance at kicking the ass of the dude who killed me, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Perhaps by absorbing the soul of a passenger, a Gome gets reborn on the train, a sort of life-for-a-life exchange. If so, the possibility of Gome Tuba returning could make for a particularly great drama for Hazel. What if this reincarnate Tuba becomes a baddie seeking revenge on the Apex and by extension other passengers? She would be reborn after internalizing Simon's bitter, hateful essence after all. I do think that this theory is a far shot, but I think it would make for some additional follow-up commentary to this season, with a focus on the cycles of hatred created by bigotry and tribalism. That being said, I don't think that Gome Tuba would be irredeemable like Simon, and I'd hope that Hazel would be able to bring her back to her down-to-earth self. Alternatively, what if this sort of storyline is given to Tuba's daughter, Bugle? That way, the emotional impact of Tuba's death wouldn't be undercut, but we still get to see Hazel play off a denizen that she shares a familial relationship with. Regardless as to whether the Gome reincarnate or not, I'm positive we're going to dive deeper into their lore in the next installment. These past 2 seasons have really opened up the audience to asking questions about the wasteland and the Gome, so I'm wondering if we'll ever get to learn about the world outside the train, and perhaps where the train itself comes from. Sure, one is the conductor, but who is the engineer that put the wheels in motion? I'm also dying to know what the verdict is on whether or not denizens should be allowed the opportunity to have numbers and emotionally work their way off the train. Obviously, a world randomly populated by regal talking dogs, shape-shifting deer, and Randall with his donut hole would be absolutely wild. But doesn't everyone deserve the right to grow, change, and disembark? Then again, if all the denizens are allowed to eventually leave the train, who will live on the train full-time to help the passengers? As far as brand new characters go, I gotta say, my dudes, I am stumped. I couldn't have predicted Alan Dracula or even Tuba in a million years, let alone any of the passengers the train has hosted so far, so your guess is as good as mine. We'll just have to wait and see and make wild speculations along the way. These are some of my theories for what to expect in Book 4 of Infinity Train, but I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe to Nerdwire, and check out our other videos on Infinity Train if you can't wait for the next chapters to drop.